Scott Narver, it's the new year.
Jake Lloyd Bacon, and I think we should kick off this new year figuring out the goat of all goats.
Oh, because there's so many great goats out there that we want to find the goatest of them all.
Yeah, we don't want a good goat, we want the greatest.
Yeah, like the American Pygmy, that's a pretty great goat. The Jamnapari, that's a fantastic goat. Damascus goat with the big wide head and like the larger kind of ears.
Jake, look, I don't know my NXT wrestlers, okay? Maybe they were all right, but I don't know if they're the goat.
Well, we'll find out today.
The greatest of all time, today on Pro Wrestling Palskis.
Hey, Scott Narver.
Hey, Jake Lloyd Bacon.
Hello to everybody joining us out there for the first PWP of the year. It's 2026. And I just remembered that I have to change all of our podcast art from the 2025 branding. I got to do that before the show drops. That's what you say in the podcast biz. You say drops. A show drops.
Yeah, before it plops.
Yeah, and God knows that this show plops quite often.
Yep, write your name in the snow, PW Palskis, because this show's plopping.
Things are plopping off here in 2026. We must, as always, acknowledge current PWP champ Adrian Avina. December's PWP champ Adrian Avina will defend that title today. See who our January champ is, who's going to be the first PWP champ of the new year. Once again, if you'd like to be in that monthly drawing and have your name go down in the annals of history, then
kitchen knife.
The only way to do that is, did you say kitchen knife?
Yeah, get a kitchen knife.
And then do what?
And start fighting your way to the top, baby.
All right.
Well, how else do you say that you're supposed to do it?
They just got to go to patreon.com/PWPalskis and then throw us $5 a month, and every $5 a month gets you an entry, so you can have as many entries.
This is not a fight to the death sort of thing?
No, not a fight to the death. This is just like a regular raffle, like you would see in any, fundraising thing where you just get tickets, and as many tickets as you want, you get put in, and then you have a better chance to win the more tickets you buy.
So we're not doing a new thing for 2026?
No. We're not doing the murder fight to the death thing. No.
Okay.
No.
Sorry. I know it'll cut down on listenership.
I am sorry.
Literally.
That's something that you were... No. Oh, so you want to cut down on... You don't think that not having...
No, I know that's the downside.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. Good. Well, as long as we're on the same page here, no fights to the death, except in our minds.
There you go.
Because today... we are going to maybe put some of the goats of wrestling up against one another, and maybe we'll put them to the death, and then we'll never talk about them ever again.
Yeah.
Scott, there's a lot of greatest of all times in conversations all over the internet.
And I feel like two in wrestling are marketed that way.
Okay.
Who are the greatest of all time?
Who are the two?
Jericho for a period of time was...
Okay.
the GOAT or the greatest of all time. And then John Cena was marketed as such. Right. I don't feel he ever said the words or went like, yeah, that's me. That he's just like, all right, whatever. I'm leaving soon. Whatever. I'm
sure.
I gave my 2 weeks 3 months ago.
What about Daniel Bryan? He was the GOAT for a while.
He had just looked as though he was a GOAT.
So you don't think that there was any implication that it was an acronym?
No.
Okay,
I think it was just
the GOAT.
Oh, you look gross.
He grew a beard, and they were like, "Yeah, GOAT."
We love putting animals on somebody, and we haven't done this one yet. You're a GOAT.
Yeah, I'm trying. There has to have been others.
I don't know about other GOATs. Like there's
I'm sure
a lot
that
of
I'm sure there are
monikers acknowledging like Honky Tonk Man's the greatest intercontinental champion of all time.
He's the GOAT.
Yeah, GOAT.
Oh yeah, right. Championship is in there. Let's see if.
But
the
he
Google
just
box-
settled for that. He just wanted like one placement in there.
Now, what about people who consider themselves like the best in the world or the best there is?
I mean, we had universal champions. So if they're just the best in the world, then are they the greatest of all time? I don't think so.
Okay. What about the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be?
Sure, that's the best, but is that the greatest?
Well, Hulk Hogan said he's the greatest there is, was, and ever will be.
He also said, call the ambulance.
Ric Flair is often considered the GOAT in journalism, but he's never referred to himself. I mean,
No, he has a lot of
Probably,
weird things that
yeah.
he says, but no,
Yeah.
he's currently, what did he say in one of his drunk cameos? I'm a diamond. Because
I
it's
am a
always
diamond.
diamonds are forever, and so is Ric Flair, but I think he went like, I'm a diamond.
I was put under a lot of pressure. I used to be a shitty item.
Yeah, Michael Cole still has yet to turn into a diamond with all that pressure that he's been under for all those years. Poor little fella.
All right. So I guess for the sake of our conversation today, we're going to make it that you don't have to have had the moniker of the GOAT, but you just have to be in the discussion of the GOAT.
No, because fucking,
Because none of those people were.
I don't know, Zach Gowen might have said he's the GOAT at some point,
Sure.
but it's like,
That's
that
what I'm
doesn't put
saying.
you in consideration.
I guarantee you there's a lot of that like NXT black and gold era who were just like, I'm the great. I guarantee you it was just every third person was like, I'm the GOAT.
So I would doubt it because I'm sure someone would be like, edit that out, please. We don't want that on our show. So also for this conversation, I think probably what is realistic to acknowledge is that our determining of who we feel is the greatest of all time
Who we will not come to a
probably
conclusion.
starts
Sure.
around 1977
Right.
and up
Yes.
to current times.
100%. Yeah.
Because as much as I would like to be more well-versed in the years previously, this also has a little bit to do with like live interactions and, you know, what we've seen on a regular basis. So there are people that I'm sure that are in the conversation that could start to get there for us, but we're
Right.
just like, it's probably the cutoff is like 1977.
Right. And you could also make an argument that just because of the nature of what the industry became, that it's sort of how people talk about Babe Ruth versus modern era baseball players, where it's like, yeah, Babe Ruth was the greatest of all time when nobody was throwing 98-mile-per-hour fastballs. And so it's sort of like the industry is different. I think some of the strengths of wrestlers from the TV alone era versus the giant stadium era have different strengths and different weaknesses. And it's sort of hard to compare the two. So one could make an argument that like, it's almost a different industry. It's almost a different thing that they do now than they did back then.
Yeah, but a lot of my qualifiers still count.
I would agree. I think you and I are, because we're old school wrestling fans, I think we're going to lean more towards probably people who took that and turned it into the new version instead of just people who are the new thing.
Like, well, they
That
do all the
makes sense.
moves.
Right.
So yeah,
Exactly.
if I was more well-versed, it'd probably start in the 50s for me.
Right.
But anything before that, with like reading about guys in the 30s and all that kind of stuff, it'd be like,
Right.
I don't know if I could really ever do that without watching them.
Right.
So like a prime example, Bruno Sammartino.
Yeah. Sure.
I've seen him a couple of times. I've seen the reactions. I've seen the ovations. Certainly not seen a huge catalog of his stuff,
no.
but he is one that I'm totally ignorant on.
Right.
And be like, yeah, I could see
Yeah,
anybody
outside
else
of
making the
docs.
argument for him. Totally.
Yeah, outside of like documentaries, like we didn't get to experience live, and the like stranglehold that he had on Madison Square Garden and on that fandom, which before we had the phrase fandom, but it just definitely seems like you had to be there kind of era, and you had to be there kind of talent.
Yeah, but it's also documented. I mean, it's on TV,
Sure.
so
Of course, yeah.
So that's what I mean is that's around the cutoff of who's in our discussion. So yours is Zach Gowen. So why?
Yeah. Wait, who's Zach Gowen again? Is that the guy with no
Jeez.
legs?
He's got one.
Oh, it's got one leg. Right. I'm sorry.
So he could still be in an ass-kicking contest.
I think I only watched.
He's not going to fare well.
I think the only thing I watched him in was something that you watched. You made us watch for a watch along. That was during my dark era. I missed all that when it was happening. All right. So who's on your short list? Like, I think it's pretty easy to kind of just to throw some names out to see.
Well, there's always certain people that are in that discussion, as you said.
Sure. We can talk about our short list, or maybe let's say, who do you think the collective wrestling universe's short list is? It
is to me, like how I am kind of categorizing this for us today, for your greatest of all time, for my greatest of all time is, the wrestler.
Yeah.
Like all things that are presented for the wrestler. So
yeah, we're going to try
when it comes to like, we remove the wrestler name and look at them as a person.
Yes.
Who they are. Like, even if John Cena were to be on the list, it's like the Make-A-Wish and all that kind of stuff. Like, we're not counting something like that to their greatest of all time as a wrestler.
Yeah. I'm also going to try to, avoid who they are as real people, because that makes it really easy to just discount nearly all of them.
Their police records, their political stances.
Exactly. Yeah.
Whether or not they can.
I mean, that should be, not for nothing, but that should be the new name of the show: Police Records and Political Stances, Wrestling Palskis.
Yeah. Whether or not they can take care of a Tamagotchi, like we're not looking. at that.
That's an episode idea. Who would be the best at caring for a Tamagotchi? The Tamagotchi World Champion.
Probably Zach Gowen.
All right. I feel like it would be John Cena because he's got a lot of time on his hands, because his time is always now. Never runs out, apparently. All right. So yeah, who do we like? Who's on the collective short list? Flair, Hogan, Cena, Stone Cold, The Rock. Who am I missing? Bret Hart, obviously. Undertaker. People throw Shawn Michaels out there. People throw Macho Man Randy Savage out there. Maybe less so, but I do feel like people throw Jesus Christ, I can't come up with Rhodes' first name right now. Dusty Rhodes out there.
Andrew Beeler in the chat throws Edge. Out there. Sting.
Sting. Yeah. People throw Kurt Angle and Brock Lesnar out there. I mean, should I just do like let's hit the Google box? Let's see. Great. Let's just see like what comes up. Greatest wrestlers of all time. What comes up the internet?
Andrew Beeler's right there now saying Sting as well. There it is. AJ Styles.
Rock, John Cena, Kurt Angle, Macho Man, Bruno Sammartino, Andre the Giant. Yeah. So these are all, I think we've probably both said our own favorite at this point, or at least close to it. But then there are also Mick Foley, CM Punk, Daniel Bryan. There are a lot of people out there. I'm just to give him the credit, even though he probably doesn't get it on the show a lot. But there are a lot of people out there that say Kenny Omega, or Will Ospreay, or Jericho. Like, there are people out there who will argue and make very valid points for that.
Yeah. You're around long enough. How are you not in that discussion, right?
Right, of course. Because you're somebody's favorite. And by the way, we're not talking about our favorites. We're talking about who we think is the greatest of all time.
The basically like the best representation of being a wrestler. Like, so yeah, it's not necessarily a personal favorite, because that is different. That is, I mean, different qualifiers, different caveats galore.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's almost easier to pick a favorite than a greatest of all time. Because you don't have to be as objective,
Right. I just like him. Well,
right.
Why?
Exactly.
Because I just do. Okay.
Orton. Yeah. Andrew Beeler in the chat throws out. All right, well, let's get into it. Where do you want to start, Scott?
What is a qualifier for you? What is a quality that someone needs?
Undeniability. I think that's part of it. I think in order to be the greatest of all time, you need to be undeniable. Like, whoever it is, I feel like, again, once we're removing the personal everything, you can't really have a retractor. I feel like it's or if you can,
a protractor. So it can't be the architect, Seth Rollins.
Why does he have a pro? Oh, because he uses protractors. Yeah. He probably uses a compass to draw like circles really well.
Thanks, everybody. That's my math joke for the day.
I think that's it. I think that's the show. I don't think it's going to get any better than that.
No. We're just going to Tamina it up from
Andrea,
here on out.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you later. Credits. So the point I'm trying to make is like, I think that somebody like Roman Reigns, I think it's too easy to make the argument that like, yeah, but like there's a lot of people who are going to be like, he's fine. But
perfect serviceable had his time. It's also hard when someone's still active in a big role.
Right. Yes. 100%. Whereas
I think like, a lot of people that are, with the exception of like a Jericho in the discussion, that when you go, he's towards the tail end, right? Where you could consider someone like that as opposed to a Cody Rhodes or Roman Reigns. You go, I don't know. They might still do this for another 10 years. They say like, oh, I want to wrap it up soon. But who knows really? They might have the whole another run, or they take a break for a couple of years and then just keep going and then could tarnish it all.
Right.
And not be the greatest.
Right. But to my point, I think that like, is there anybody out there who's going to argue if you say like, yeah, Macho Man Randy Savage is one of the greatest of all time? I don't think there are a lot of people out there who are going to really honestly be like, yeah, I fucking hate that guy. Or that guy's terrible in this way, that way. Like
Spider-Man would.
No, he loves Macho Man. He hates Bonesaw.
Oh, that's true.
But yeah, I feel like Macho, even I guess Hogan probably has a lot of, retractors, protractors, all the tractors. But kind of undeniable. Like you can't deny Hulkamania. Like
there's certainly if you're a household name in pro wrestling.
Yes, 100%. That's John Cena, Stone Cold. These are undeniable.
There's only so many really. Cause when you start to get into like a Bret Hart, right?
Right.
I don't think Bret Hart certainly now is a household name. No. I think even at his peak, like there may have been some familiarity, but it's certainly not what a Hulk Hogan or a Ric Flair was in all that. Like he wasn't huge into pop culture.
I will say
big in his industry,
but I think he was more of a household name than you think, where I think he was a household name, but not a household face. I think like Jake the Snake, he had a great name. Bret the Hitman Hart. Bret Hitman Hart. Sorry, Skeeter. I think that, I think people probably know the name in a wide-reaching net more than they know the face or who the guy is. In the same way with Jake the Snake Roberts, I think people know Jake the Snake. They've heard that. It's
Jake
part
the Snake
of our.
Was on Punky Brewster. That's totally different.
All right.
Bret Hart was on some fucking like Canadian Western show.
Okay, all right, that's fair.
It's totally different. Yeah, Jake was in that 80s boom. Bret was in that 90s dip.
Right. Yeah, so I get it.
That's one I would argue were any of those 90s people, with the exception of maybe Undertaker, because that was so strange.
Right.
But like Diesel wasn't a household name.
No, not at all.
Razor Ramon, I don't think was a household name. I think Razor Ramon, you knew if you're a wrestling fan or even like you're casually dipping out, you heard the name and you were like, oh, that sounds cool.
Totally.
But even Shawn Michaels, like it's
right. Shawn Michaels.
I don't think.
Also, no. We haven't mentioned this whole time yet. Roddy Piper, who definitely was a household name.
Yeah.
And I think for a certain type of person, definitely on the list as a potential greatest of all time, for sure. Andrew Baylor, am I one of the only people in the world that doesn't like Bret Hart? No, you're not one of the only people in the world, but you're one
Shawn Michaels.
You're one of the wrong people in the world. Hey, boom, we got her. Roddy for sure. Yeah.
It took me a long time to appreciate Bret Hart. Because for a long time with all technical guys when I was younger, I thought they were boring.
See, I think that the fact that my sister loved him, like we were like a Bret Hart house. And so it was sort of how like when you grew up in a certain place and you just like that sports team because your family likes it. It's that kind of thing where I was like, I grew up a Bret Hart fan. And then I think as I matured, then I actually appreciated Bret Hart outside of just being a blind, he's a good guy wrestling fan kind of,
Yeah. It took me a while because on the surface, I was like, he's just kind of bland and boring. He's not exciting. And Jim the Anvil Neidhart was standing next to him and go, that dude's cool. He's fun. He's loud. He's got the cool beard.
Right.
And it wasn't even, like now where I go, oh man, there's so much that I don't believe or it's not grounded. And I'm looking for that. Now I see Bret Hart. I was starting to notice it probably in my comeback, like late teens, early 20s, and just starting to see it. But it took a while. I guess it's in a way, and I'm not familiar with this by any means, but I watched the movie Sideways again, so I kind of get it. It's like it's being a wine connoisseur or appreciating wine,
right,
or like fine art. I think Bret Hart is a bit of that. You can just jump in and go like, yeah, I love Bret Hart, but he is very fucking nuanced, and you're swirling the glass and smelling the fucking different flavors. And Bret Hart is that, because when you actually study and watch and see what he does from bell to bell, you go, wow, it's not incredibly flashy, but it's so detailed.
It also is especially doing our watch along series where we get to just watch all sorts of wrestling from all time eras and locations and countries. The older stuff we watch, like Bret's, is the stuff that holds up the best out of a lot of that older stuff. And that's not to say that old stuff generally doesn't hold up, but like
Bret's is timeless.
Bret's is completely timeless.
If you change the clothes on him,
right,
if you did that and you just still, again, like structure bell to bell, depending on who's fighting, it still plays.
He is on my short list for this greatest of all times of all times. And I think that might be me being a little subjective because he is a favorite.
Yeah.
But I think that he is undeniable. Apparently not to Andrea in the chat, but I just kind of feel like he's also, how much does influence play in being the greatest?
Oh, like his follower count?
Yeah. How many TikTok impressions does he get?
Brett, you got to call more people gay. You got to do it. You got to say Shawn Michaels and Vince are gay together. You get them clicks. Oh, not that click.
But you understand the intent, like what, like the amount of people, like it's that whole thing of the wrestler's favorite wrestler kind of thing.
Yeah.
And how important is that into the category, or does that not really matter?
I definitely think matters.
Brett's got to be one of the most influential. He's on that short list of most influential.
Sure.
Up there with Shawn, with his, his best friend.
Yeah, but I don't think it really plays a factor in, because what does a wrestler's favorite wrestler matter when it comes to that you would say, this is the greatest wrestler of all time? Why? Oh, because the other ones like him?
I guess I'm trying to, if it's like a tree, like who's at the top, I guess that's kind of what I'm trying to think about. But no, you're right, because it doesn't necessarily compare the different levels at the different rungs of the tree. Yeah. But I don't know, I'm just thinking out loud. What about Hogan? I mean, there's a strong case to be made that the guy who pretty much brought wrestling to the world stage, and was the first like pro wrestler who was like a global star. There were a lot of big national stars in wrestling from all different countries and whatnot, but also, like, that's, if it's not obvious, the asterisk here is that we are both Americans who grew up in American wrestling and who grew up watching the companies we did. And there's going to be plenty of people who are like, oh my God, they haven't mentioned this Japanese guy yet, or this, Mexican luchador who's this icon who's been around for, and so obviously we understand
they're listening to the show through their Google Translate.
Exactly. But
Giant Baba, why haven't you said Giant Baba yet?
You get what I'm...
Because I think Giant Baba's promos are deniable. That's why.
Sure.
Yeah, we're a North American show. We're a North American fan base. We're North American product through. Like, we're not, I don't know. Like, I think there can be, you could do greatest of all time amongst categories, that if you want to say like amongst Lucha Libre, amongst Japanese wrestling and all that, but like, come on, this is what we're dealing with. If you feel sorry or butthurt about that, okay. Hogan, I think is up there for a lot of reasons. Hogan, like you said, was the star to transcend into pop culture, not just, hey, like wrestling's kind of big and look at this big, bald weirdo. Isn't he cool? He crossed over, and when he did it, because as much as fun as it is to make fun of like the shitty movies he made,
right?
The first movie he made wasn't shitty at all, and he was one of the standout stars in Rocky III.
Right.
So then it's Saturday Night Live, and then it's promoting WrestleMania, and like he's in all these other spots and not floundering.
Right.
So he's representing pro wrestling and choking out Richard Belzer and getting him a nice house.
Right.
He becomes the poster boy of like what can represent our so-called sport, and you'll see it and you'll go, wow, look at that guy.
Right.
And then what is it? That's like 83 to 96. So like less than 20 years later to then reinvent everything.
Right.
With the bad version of
Hollywood,
him when he was bad
turn.
Previously, but Hollywood Hulk Hogan.
Right.
To have a whole second life with that, and then to have a third life to be essentially a walking nostalgic version of yourself that you're going to go, all right, we'll bring it back again to our original fan base.
Right. And
then it worked again. And it was gigantic every single time. And also, he was always a huge, huge star.
And somebody also might easily just be like, oh, well, greatest of all time, who made the most money, who put the most asses in seats, who was the biggest star. And I definitely feel like, the Hogan's in that short list for sure.
And I think another thing too, amongst that is when you're looking at money is who also made everybody a bunch of money.
Right.
The stories always go, you wanted to, there's 3 shows a night. There's 3 towns. And if you're on the Hogan card, you're getting paid. I forget like what the caveat is, what the bump is. It's like 3 times as much or something like that.
Right.
And then there was just more opportunities to be shown overall because there's more shows, more towns. But if you're wrestling against Hogan, you're making a shit ton of money. If you're wrestling on the Hogan card, you're making more money. So that is huge because there was a trickle down effect flat out.
What about the people who were like, well, yeah, but he also buried people and people were making money around him, but he also made a lot more. And what about the King Kong Bundy argument where wasn't he like, oh, I made, not a lot of money on that thing, or I can't remember if that was.
So many others say they did. Right. I don't think for what there is in the interviews and what people talk about, Hogan didn't really bury a lot of people. I think that as far as it's documented,
right.
I think you can certainly make the case that in WCW,
right,
all those guys weren't working with the next generation of people.
Yeah.
All those guys weren't embracing the next thing. You got a couple of people through, but they've been around and they kind of reinvented themselves with a Booker T or a Scott Steiner. But that also has to do with the Bischoff and Russo and any of those guys who were running the thing. Like they weren't putting those guys in those spots. So everyone's guilty of that.
Right.
But Hogan, I think like any top guy certainly had times where he goes like, no, I'm not doing this with that person. But I can't think of many stories of where he didn't do house show fucking runs with tons of people.
Right.
Even when he made it clear, again, not personal stuff involved in this, but made it clear about his daughter and what he wants personally in his life and what he doesn't want out of a person with a certain skin color.
Right.
But he didn't have a reputation to be known to not work with people of color during his wrestling days.
Right.
So he'd do business, but he's not doing grandbabies.
All right. What about Ric Flair? There's a lot of people who feel like maybe that's kind of the pinnacle of pro wrestling as what it is, as the modern art form, as the aged art form. Like he kind of crosses all the boxes and checks all the forms.
Yeah. I think Flair's got a lot without question. Longevity. He was just always loved. You got to a certain point where you just couldn't boo him anymore because you loved him that much because he's been around.
Right. You know, he is on, speaking of Hitman, our Hitman rating system episodes that we do, Ric Flair is at the top of the list of the people that we've rated. And obviously there's some silly people on there we've rated. We haven't done an episode of this where it's just the greatest of all times.
Right.
And that's not what we're doing now, but for the sake of that whole, fun little, like, out of 30 points, Ric Flair is at the top with the only person with a 28, because he's all categories, because he had everything going for him.
Yeah. I think he's on the short list for me.
Yeah, he's also on the short list for me, just
because he's undeniable.
Completely, and he is one of those things, kind of what I was talking about earlier, where even though I didn't watch a lot of him, and I wasn't a WCW guy when he was, I've probably watched more Ric Flair with you on Watch Along than I did my entire life before Palski's Watch Alongs.
Right.
But even in that state, even before watching him with you, like, I am just so aware of what he did for the industry and what he did, to my earlier point of, like, how he's a lot of my wrestlers' favorite wrestler, or he's a lot of the guys that I love. He's the guy that they talk about. Oh, well, he was doing this and this, and this is where I learned this. And, when talking about ring psychology, when talking about merging the various styles of wrestling, because he is that big sports entertainer, but he also has a little bit of that, like, old school Memphis. He has a little bit of the Southern wrestling. He
wrestles for an hour.
He knows how to do New York. Yeah, exactly. You can put him in any company, in any style, in any nation, really. And he just works.
And his presentation just works.
Yes.
He is
always.
He is a great personification of a wrestler, where you go, he's got this lavish golden hair.
Yeah.
He's got this entrance robe that you look at it and you go, like, God, what a rich, pompous son of a bitch. And the way he carries himself, the woo, everything about it, you just know right away. Like, you get a strong feeling and you go, like, that's a fucking wrestler. And he makes me feel something right away. So while Hogan was one of the greatest because he could cross over into pop culture and become the household name, Ric Flair was in large part, but wasn't what Hogan was. He wasn't the household name because he stayed in wrestling. He wasn't
a purist. Yeah. Right.
All the other stuff and all that. He was wrestling every night and drinking and hanging out with the boys. Like, he's a wrestler's wrestler through and through.
Right.
Where it's,
yeah. I mean, not to get ahead of ourselves here, but I think when putting those two titans up against each other, I think that Flair has a greater claim for the greatest of all time than Hogan does, personally.
Okay.
And I think a lot of that does also come from the, like, diaspora of work that he has, because you can see
word of the day did you bust out on us?
You can see so many different styles. And I've heard, like, oh, early Hogan is great. Hogan in Japan is great. And I know that there's all of these stories about how Hogan's great in all these different places, but that's not where his career was. Whereas Flair's career was everywhere for so long. And I kind of get a feeling that, like, even the stuff that I wasn't watching, he was probably putting a better quality product out than Hogan was in the later years.
I mean, tomato, right? Because you can be scrutinizing it later and go, like, well, I don't really like that match or what it was. Or Rick did it for 53 minutes longer with variables. But it's like, yeah, but Hogan brought everybody in. Yeah. Starrcade didn't last. WrestleMania did. The first 9 WrestleManias are Hogan headlining the thing.
Okay, interesting.
So, there's your star that helped solidify that event that continues on to this day for Saudi Arabia next year.
So you lean more Hogan and I lean more Flair.
I think I do.
Yeah.
It's hard to say, but neither one of them are my greatest of all time.
Right on.
You want to factor in mine?
Yeah.
So you talked about undeniability. Mine is unpredictability.
Okay.
I think the personification of a wrestler needs to have a bit of a wait. I don't know exactly what they're going to do. If you see them at the show, if you were to see them outside the building, if you were to see them in an airport, that there's some sense of like,
can I guess who I think you're going to say?
What?
Can I take a guess at who I think you're about to say?
You think I'm naming my person? I was just giving you a quality.
Oh! I thought you were saying. Oh yeah, gotcha. Yeah, I don't know that I agree as that's like an important factor. I think it's an additional fun thing, but I think that could also be bad for business in certain ways.
I'm not saying that it's Abdullah the Butcher.
Sure,
that they're going to go crazy everywhere.
Right,
but I want something that feels a little bit dangerous, a little bit wild, because this is not supposed to be what all the other sports are. This is not supposed to be, this is a combative sport pre-MMA for a large period of time of these people are dangerous and they fight in rings. Oh, okay.
Bruiser Brody?
Sure.
I mean, he's one of the names that comes to mind for sure when you think about this stuff.
But I'm not necessarily cranking it up to a 10 when it comes to, like, I'm not looking for, they got to be a wild man. Right. But a lot of the people we talked about, like Hogan had a large part of, he's a little wild and unpredictable at times when something would snap and he'd like get wild-eyed or go outside of the ring and all of a sudden grab a chair and he's a good guy. It's like, the hell's he doing? He's a little wild. He's a little unpredictable.
Macho Man has that for sure too. And
100%.
I think Macho Man is also on my short list for claims for the greatest of all times. And I think Macho Man is sort of like the bridge between Ric Flair and Hogan, where I think he's got a bit of what Hogan has, and he's got a bit of what Flair has, and maybe he doesn't have
like some of the chemicals poured into his mixture, and you go, wait, I can't recreate it. Yeah, I don't know.
Like if Hogan is 10 of one thing and Flair is 10 of another thing, Macho maybe is not 5 and 5, but maybe like 750 and 750 of both, which I think is arguably to me potentially even better. Macho Man has every category. He's got the look. He's got the excitement. He seems like a wrestler. But also he's this crazy loon character who exists outside of wrestling and commercials and weird, and people know the gimmick and the getup. He has like crazy personal drama. He's a romantic lead in a story with Elizabeth. He's the guy is just all over pro wrestling. And he's a
larger than life character. You can't figure out what's real, what's not.
Yeah.
Cause I think for a long time, everyone has a thought of, does he really talk like that?
Right. Yeah.
A balding wrestler that never seemed like a balding wrestler, really.
Yeah. There's a lot of those. That's a big category.
Yeah, but to me, I never really think about it.
Right. Okay. That's fair.
Like maybe a video game representation of it where it doesn't move and you go,
right.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He's kind of bald.
He looks like Gallagher with like the horseshoe.
Yeah, but he pulled it off in some way where it's like, it looks cool. I'm sure it drove him nuts, but.
Right. Well, the bandana does a lot of heavy lifting there.
Sure. But that comes off during the matches.
It does. Yeah, I don't know. I again, trying to not be objective, or trying to be objective, not be subjective rather. I don't know that I put Macho above Hogan. I probably put them side by side. But I think it's, again, Hogan's more undeniable as far as the reach, but I think that Macho was a better wrestler and a better character as well. So I might give Macho the edge between those two personally. And whether or not he stacks up to Flair in my mind, I think they're also kind of comparable.
Yeah. Anyone else you want to throw in the mixture? Or,
I mean,
or do we get down to it?
Like, there are some people that we've mentioned, like Taker and Shawn Michaels are also both people that get brought up a lot.
Taker to get all that mileage out of something so stupid.
Yeah, and to reinvent yourself in ways that was, I know that it didn't always work for you, but I think it worked for a lot of people. And
on the flip side of the coin, like,
right.
I have a day job and where I find dead people and I make caskets for them and I will put them in there and figure out the funeral proceedings and all that. But in the nighttime when I can travel, I shall go and wrestle. with my friend who has a very punny name. So sorry. He's in the industry. And let's not talk about my brother. Cool. Are you a biker also? Yeah, I'm a biker.
Yes, I'm also
cool.
a biker.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I go to a tattoo parlor and get tattoos of ladies' names.
Yeah, ladies.
And then I get them taken
week.
off sometimes. But I mean, it is Taker is undeniable. Taker is one of those household names. People know the Undertaker. It's a He's a easy Halloween costume. He's a recognizable figure.
Became a great wrestler after overcoming the gimmick limitations
right.
and what was given to him opponent wise. And like the era, like the guys were changing and adapting. Like it wasn't just, oh yeah, he's just a giant guy who's really cool persona. That it was, no, I can do better than this. Let's find a way to make this all work better and let me showcase and do more for the company when he could have just ridden this out for 20, 30 years of just being a giant slow presence. And that's it.
Yep. But that's the thing is, I don't think had he just done that, I don't think there would be the staying power. I think he would have gone, the way of many giant scary characters before him, where they last for a little bit, and then people go, "All right, we've seen it, we get it," or eventually enough good guys beat you, and you go, "Oh, well, he's not really a threat anymore."
I mean, the change didn't happen really for almost like 10 plus years.
Yeah, no, it was a long time.
So, I don't know. I think he could have written it out at that point.
Right. Yeah, Andrew in the chat says, I also think personal bias does get in the way a bit for that because he's one of my all-time favorites. Same. And when we talked about this, like, oh, what do we do with GOAT's, the greatest of all time episode, like his was the first name that popped into my head. I was like, oh, well, for me, it'll probably be Undertaker when I was trying to think of who it would be. But then once you start being more objective, it's like, well, I think things that we can definitely put in the pro column is that because he wrestled for so long, he did work with a lot of different styles, a lot of different eras. He made a lot of people look great. He was a locker room leader. Absolutely. He was a locker room leader. He's, but also like kind of a company man in a way that makes him not so cool, in a sense, it was like, well, yeah, sometimes the best guys are the guys who went, I'm going to go do something completely different and just not do what's best for, or what the boss says, that kind of stuff. There's a bit of that where it's like, as you get older, you think like locker room leader must be great, but it also means that you're just sort of keeping the peace and maybe not challenging some things that need to be challenged creatively.
That's more Big Show, isn't it?
Sure.
I'll lose to everybody.
Sure, of course. But I mean, he's in the conversation, I think, for sure, for a lot of people.
Also, I think there's certain categories of stuff we didn't want to talk about. We're saying like, it doesn't really count in this. I think something I will give him a lot of credit for was to keep his job and his persona and everything as close to the chest as possible, until it was deemed, no, I can change and adapt here. Cause they're doing the fucking Rey Mysterio mask off thing where like, oh, that never happened in WCW. He kept his mask on since the day he was born. Like, no, he changed and it was different then. But Taker, when he was Biker Taker, he would go on interview shows and talk from time to time. It'd still be sparse and select. He'd do their biographies or whatever. And all the times that he was the dead man,
right,
he wasn't accessible.
Right.
He wasn't sharing stuff all the time. So it kept the mystique and the aura around him. So casual long-term fans could see him and still go like, yeah, but I want to know more. I'm so curious. And the only way you're going to find out is if you watch him on the wrestling show.
And people would still talk about him in a kayfabe breaking way. You would still have people analyzing the Hell in a Cell match, and Mick and all these people talk about him. And in a way that we go like, well, okay, yeah, well, he's like, oh, I talked to Mark and Mark said this, but still it never came from his mouth, which is really special.
Yes.
Yeah. And now I wish that he would just close the mouth and then we could just save all that forever. Because now
close them cool. That's what I say.
Yeah. There we go.
Bring back the other guy.
Let's put some heat on it. But also you were talking about how like, oh yeah, like Hogan made WrestleMania for a while there. The streak was WrestleMania. In later years, like that was the only reason a lot of people, I want to see who Taker fights this year and who he beats and if he's going to lose, There'll never be anything like that ever again.
No, unless Mansoor comes back to this WrestleMania and starts it all over again in Saudi.
The greatest Royal Rumbles, or the largest, whatever they're called, largest Royal Rumbles of all time. Well, what about Mick? We haven't talked about Mick Foley. I know that he's your personal favorite.
Absolutely.
And is he in the conversation for greatest of all time?
I would certainly always keep Mick in any positive conversation of all times. And I wouldn't disagree with someone if they said it was Mick. Right. Be like, yep, sure, totally great. Have it. I don't think he is for me. He is my personal favorite. I think he will undoubtedly be on any best lists of all time, but nothing about the comedy, nothing about the humor, nothing about the goofiness.
Right.
I think Mick is a long story to know.
Right.
To be like, yeah, Mick's one of the best. But here's what you got to know about him. Like, there's backstory to Mick. There's a lot of previously ons for Mick to go, okay, so he's Mick Foley, but he was also Mankind, Cactus Jack, Do Love. To know all these things is to really know and appreciate that. I think the greatest wrestler of all time you can pick up and play.
You're not wrong. And to your point about Flair, you see the entrance and you just get the whole story.
Yeah.
And if you saw any random, like, Mankind in a white button up with a tie come out of the ring, you'd be like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah. I'm curious. I want to know more about this guy.
Sure, but...
And he's fun and he's great and he's exciting. Jesus Christ, he must be really hurt from that. Yeah, he's going to do something way worse tomorrow night.
There's also something about the fact that, like, to be one of the greatest of all times, like, the top of his popularity and stardom wasn't his prime, which is crazy. I would argue that maybe puts him in the running for greatest of all time. Because if had he had the ability to do that when he was in his prime. Yeah. The same argument can be made about Austin. Because, Stone Cold Steve Austin definitely should be a part of this conversation. And the argument that I often see online and in conversations is like, yeah, Austin is the biggest star. And he was like, his reign at the top was so short compared to all these other people. Yeah. Same thing with Rock, kind of, where it's like you realize, like, oh, that's how big they were, so good that they were able to do what all these other people did in this amount of time versus these four.
But also, is that what it should be at times?
Right.
Like, right. When we see the WWF to WCW and you go, that was really cool that we got some people for a long period of time.
Right.
Should we have had some of those people for that long period of time?
No,
and it still will continue to go on. Jericho, again, is another prime example of, okay, Jericho's going to have a real weird accolade of, like, he's worked for every wrestling company in the past fucking 30 years or whatever.
Right.
All the ones that are defunct and gone and the new ones that pop up. It's like, oh, I think that's cool, but Jesus.
He needs to get on some Antarctica wrestling promotion and start the, like, I've wrestled on every continent tour. You know what I mean? Like, that's a whole gimmick. I'm the first wrestler to ever wrestle on every continent and in international waters because of my cruise.
That's very true. Yeah. And go, and then, like, top that. I'm out.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, I'm just trying to think.
Address one of the other ones.
Please, please. I know we keep throwing.
John Cena was just marketed as the greatest of all time.
So Cena is the other person that's probably on my very short 4 or 5 names list, and I think Cena's is undeniable. Yes, he might have come. I think a lot of people would argue, well, the greatest of all time can't have been anybody who wasn't around for the Attitude Era. Like, I know I've heard that argument before because it's like, well, that was the greatest wrestling era. Oh, 100%. People are like, oh, that's what made, and I'm like, no, that's just because in your world, you weren't around, you weren't a teenager in the 80s when Hogan, or whatever.
Anybody's boom period. It's
exactly.
Regardless, like it's one of the best and it's super exciting.
Right. But Cena, huge global superstar. And unlike Hogan and Macho Man and Undertaker, no ridiculous gimmick. Just a dude's name and some white guy in jorts. Like, people who don't watch wrestling know, and I'm talking even before he broke into Hollywood more. Like people knew who John Cena was who didn't watch wrestling. People knew what this meant. They understood it. Here's a guy who started with a funny Vanilla Ice gimmick, turned it into one of the biggest stars. He's worked with so many people in so many styles. And one of the reasons he's on my very, very, very short list is because Cena's one of those people who, I know that there was the era of the Cena sucks. And I know that there was the, the like Super Cena era. Who has taken that fandom and turned it into like, you respect me because of that, like John Cena has. Like, I can't think of anybody who took all the heat that they got, because it wasn't like we don't
like you. We don't want to watch you anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm going to stay on the show because the boss likes me, and you'll eventually respect me because you don't have another show to watch.
And you know what? You might be right. You might be right in that. That might be a perfect takedown of my argument, but it's still the thing that happened. Whereas like there are people who
he endured.
And there are people who were like, there's a difference between having heat and having like, we legitimately don't want you anymore heat. And he had that, we don't want you anymore heat for a while.
We don't want you anymore in that spot.
Sure.
And Roman Reigns had that too.
Yes, absolutely.
Roman Reigns, it was, we don't like this character. Vince is making us watch this version of you, and this is bullshit.
Right.
Cena had the, enough of you, dude. Like, we want somebody else in this spot type of character. It's like, you're kind of fine as who you are.
Right.
This is bullshit. Like, Cena endured, and Foley showed us all.
Right.
Like, that's why Foley's, I think, how I can categorize it better of like,
he proved us wrong or whatever. Proved himself right, whereas Cena endured. Yeah.
Cena endured. It's like, look, I got what I got, and this is what I'm going to do. And his work ethic and everything else was testament to who he is. And I'm sure, like, in large part, like what the company wants, right? They want more people to do that. And where the boss essentially does the same thing.
So I know he's
a fucking workaholic.
You're a huge fan of American history and musical theater. So I think what you're trying to say is John Cena's Aaron Burr and Mick Foley is Alexander Hamilton.
And then that dude was there, eating the peanut butter, and getting a phone call, and he couldn't answer.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about Cena is, like, I'm trying to think of the way that Flair and Hitman, like, their body of work holds up. Does all of Cena's body of work hold up in the same way?
His last match?
Maybe not the last match, but the general, again,
This is where I would certainly nitpick. I know you brought up Shawn Michaels earlier.
Yes.
And this is where, for my statue that I'm going to make of the greatest all time, I go, no.
Please.
Because I am never wanting, the greatest is never going to reveal the tricks to me on stage.
Right.
The greatest.
Right.
I might hear them, call a spot once or twice throughout the years when it's like, they switched over to HD and the audio got really good and Cena got busted for calling out his spots.
Right.
No, I can hear him doing the magic tricks a lot. And that's not the greatest. Shawn Michaels throwing temper tantrums and breaking character and shit like that. That's not the greatest. It's anytime the magic is revealed. Undertaker didn't do that. There are countless guys where I go, that is a non-factor for them. So if that happened for me, they're not my greatest of all time.
Right. Understood. Yeah. And it's a fair argument.
They're fucking great.
It's also, though, like, there might be something to be said about how, like, isn't that kind of how greatness and, like, artistic brilliance works? It usually comes with emotional instability, and, the greatest artists of any generation are also kind of the worst fucking people.
Yeah, it could be, but in the show of entertainment, show of sport, any of that, like, anytime that it's dropped because of the performer, you are excellent. You've endured and you've been there for a long time. You are certainly one of the greats to be there that long, but you can't be the greatest.
Right.
Other people have taken that spot because they were able to do everything else and more and keep it as real as possible. Andrea says in the chat, my childhood best friend wanted me to watch wrestling because she was in love with Cena. When she asked me the next day what I thought, I told her how much I loved Edge and the Hardys. LOL.
There you go. All right. Well, is there anybody that we kind of haven't really, anybody that we should maybe just mention or talk about briefly? We haven't talked a lot about Kurt Angle or Brock. We haven't talked about Sting. Obviously, I'm a little bit, I'm as versed in Sting as any wrestling fan, modern wrestling fan who's just seen everything, all the docs and the talks about. But I didn't witness a lot of his actual work.
I've been catching you up on a little bit here and there. You're a little bit more well versed.
And I've definitely enjoyed Sting, but Sting doesn't have that, can't take my eyes off of him quality that some of the other names that we've mentioned have, which is why that is one of my big things when it comes to greatest of all time. Yeah, there's there's the Hitman categories, but then there's also that who's a person that you just can't help but watch. And I don't personally, Sting isn't on that list for me, which I know is sacrilegious to a lot of other folks, but
I think Sting was really remarkable in that in two major time periods, he was unique and different from what was being presented.
Right.
So, and the stuff with Flair and coming up and Clash of Champions and all that of here's this young kid that the guys on top, the Horsemen are going yeah, that's the guy.
Right.
I think that's the guy. And we're going to kind of test him out. He's going to go against Flair. We're going to see what we got. Can we run with this kid?
Right.
I like him. He's it. We're going to do it with this kid. And, before that it was Sting and Warrior, on their tag team trajectory of doing stuff. And then they got pulled apart and we got Warrior in one spot with doing what he did. And then Sting was in the other one. It's that was perfect. You couldn't have done it the other way. It wouldn't have worked. If Sting was the guy that Vince saw and then trying to do something like that, it wouldn't have worked. And Warrior being with Flair, good God.
Right.
Would have been a second plane crash. Sting was the perfect guy in that perfect time to be this new hero, to be this young California blonde, the face paint, and be this exciting new star. And then later, amongst the NWO and all the legendary guys coming from one company to the other, all the things, and he's just standing back going I gotta be fucking different. Sure, wrestling is always filled with, Flair is the worst when it comes to, I'm going to take that guy's name. Yep. I'm going to take that guy's woo. I'm going to take this guy's
robe. Yeah, exactly.
He just fucking stole from everybody.
Sure.
And Sting went, I'm going to steal from the Crow. And I'm going to tap into that. And he's going to be that with his new version of Sting. To not talk for an entire year. To be the guy that was not involved in what any of these things were. Create this persona. Create this mystique of a little bit is unless you were watching the week to week or even a documentary that really did it justice to see, wait a minute, what's that guy doing? I got to see what Sting is doing.
Right.
That he was able to fall into it a bit the first go around and help make it the second go around.
Right.
But then Joker, Sting, and TNA, whew,
not so much.
I couldn't not watch that because that was my favorite. Because he was doing Jim Carrey's Riddler from Batman Forever.
Must see TV, but not in a good way.
It's fun stuff.
I can't remember who the interview was with. But it was somebody that was on the couch for an episode of Colbert where they talked about here's the thing is that you want to be part of something that's good, but what you don't ever want to be is part of something that people refer to as great television. Because that's usually means something terrible has happened. To
me, Sting and Cena kind of go hand in hand. I think Sting was better at keeping the show part of it up, but he wrestled all styles, he wrestled all people, and he endured.
He's sort of a Cena of his era for sure. And I think that Cena's the global star simply based on when they were both in their primes.
Mm-hmm.
But they're probably in a similar category. Well, we should probably get to the end of it here. I pressed Andrea to be there in the chat because she was like, I can't pick who's the GOAT. She said Cena is one of the GOATs. And then I said, who's the first person that comes to mind? You have to pick a name. 3, 2, 1, go. And she wrote Edge. But that's personal preference, I think. And then, so she still didn't do the thing.
It's a personal favorite.
Still
not necessarily the GOAT.
Still didn't do the GOAT as a personal favorite. If I had to pick personal favorite and then GOAT, if I had to be a little bit subjective, I think I would say Bret Hart is the greatest of all time, personally. Okay. But if I have to be objective, especially given this conversation and stuff, I think, and I know that, again, I don't know that we'll agree. I think that Ric Flair is the greatest of all time, and he's only barely edging out Macho Man Randy Savage, who I think has the thing that they all have. Robes. And I think, what'd you say?
Robes.
Oh, I thought you said worms. And I was like, oh no, did he have the brain worm? Did he have the RFK brain worm? I think that Macho has it all. I think that simply the story of Macho Man and maybe the WCW stuff, like, I think that we didn't get to see Macho have an end career in a way that was as beneficial. Not that, a lot of people argue that Flair's end career was not great either, but we did get to see like a decent retirement, quote, I'm putting retirements in quotes, story angle with Shawn. We get to see some really great moments in WWE before it all went whatever. But like, I don't know. I think Flair, personally, I think Flair is probably the greatest of all time when it comes to his ability in ring. The fact that his matches stand up to the test of time. They're timeless. He's great as a character. You can't take your eyes off him when he's in a match, and he wrestles against so many different people in so many different styles, but he never changes who he is in those styles.
Right.
I think he's kind of undeniable. And again, edging out Macho, and I think maybe, there are some close third and fourths in there with Hogan and with, probably Bret, probably Cena, but yeah, I think that's my pick. If I had to be completely objective, I think that's my answer.
That is, I totally stand by that pick. It's not mine, but I totally see it and I understand it.
Who do you think?
I think the greatest of all time is Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Really? Okay, so we didn't really dive into him too much, but all right. So talk through me why.
So I think with the majority of wrestlers that we mentioned, I've gotten to see them in a live setting.
Right. And yeah, I don't have that pool to pull from.
And that's why I kind of cut off some of the stuff in the 70s, because I'm like, well, I wasn't there. So
sure, yeah.
And I know the Road Warriors pop is a thing, obviously, and I was only there to see them once. And I thought it was going to be at a show where we make fun of them because they're old and they were at a UPW show. I'm like, yeah, let's go make fun of the Road Warriors. The second they come out in a place that holds like 300 people, it's like, you're fucking, oh God, everyone loves them. Oh, amazing. Okay. I'll just shut up. I'm not gonna fight this in any way.
Listen, I'm telling you, just wait for the Smoking Gun reunion. Okay. The Smoking Guns reunion, that pop is going to be through the roof.
Yeah. But it's them with their little pop guns. Pop, pop, pop. There is no other energy like when Stone Cold Steve Austin comes out.
Interesting.
There's nothing like it. I mean, a lot of it conveys on TV.
I think that,
and that ovation, and it's not just the music, it's the glass break, but it's followed up by the guy that comes out.
Yeah.
It's not just a cool fucking song, because we have plenty of songs where we're like, oh, cool. They're not great. I'm going to wait for this to be over.
It's always my argument about like minute 4 of Taker's entrance, where I'm just like, that gong is one of the best feelings you're just so stoked. The lights go out and then the music slowly starts and the pyro builds and it's exciting. And then you see him in the smoke and it's fucking awesome. And then he starts walking the ring and you're like, all right, it's cool. He's there. Yeah. We're going to
gotten a sandwich.
And then a little bit later, and then he's doing the lights on the apron and then he's going in, okay, but is it good? And it kind of diminishes a little bit. And then it rises again when the lights come on and like he's actually facing some dude, but it's just that, there's a scoop.
At what speed is Stone Cold coming out? The emotion on his face. He's never had a misfire moment, I feel, of what he's coming out for and the intensity and why, like what his goal is. Is he clearing the ring? Is he coming to whoop somebody? Is he coming out to just have fun? I think from all the people I've seen post live show, post TV show, post pay-per-view, no one has gone out of their way more than Stone Cold Steve Austin to make you want to come back the next time they were in town.
Right.
To entertain and to be wild and fun and put on a show. A lot of those clips are online from some of the bigger shows that he used to do of just fucking around with people afterwards. But all the stuff with even just beers and stunning people were exceptionally fun.
Yeah. He's also, we didn't talk about this, but he is, and Flair's in the same category for sure. And some of these people aren't, is that he's done every type of act at the variety act that is a wrestling show. He's done the dead serious, super dramatic blood feud storyline. He's done the comedy shtick. He's done the supporting character, the main character. He's filled every role in his career. And not everybody can say that.
He looked for the next group of people. Like he was certainly he was being protective of himself at times, right, where it's like, the stories go like he didn't want to do shit with Jeff Jarrett. But I think there was also, he was not quite the guy for the right spot, but would see like when Benoit and Jericho were kind of prime, it's like, yeah, we need to do stuff with them. We need to work. I need to do stuff with those guys.
Right.
They'll make me look good. I'll make them look good. He's very reciprocal. He's aware. His matches are fucking outstanding. There is the wild caveat of things that I like where he's unpredictable. I don't know what he's going to do all the time. He's larger than life. He's also one of those characters, which is, unlike some of these people on the list here who also tapped into the zeitgeist in a way that not a lot of wrestlers have. Like the idea that you can tune on TV and watch some guy flip off his boss and drink a beer. Like definitely now during that era, it was a zeitgeist that, a lot of people hated, but you couldn't deny it. Undeniable that there was a everyman quality about him that even Macho doesn't have. Macho's not an everyman. And maybe, and that's, and again, I can make an argument that, maybe the greatest of all time shouldn't be an everyman. It should be somebody that's larger than life. But I think that Stone Cold somehow managed to ride that line. He's the working man.
Yeah.
I don't think he's the everyman. He's the working man.
Right.
That you're rooting for no matter what.
Right.
You got on board with whatever it was that he was doing. I didn't fucking drink. I don't drink.
Same.
I loved being in attendance, and if Stone Cold glass of beers and I got beer on me, that was the fucking best.
Oh, we're different in there, but I like that other people got beer on them.
But
I hated it.
You weren't there for it.
No, that's true. I don't think I ever was there for it. Well, I was there, but I wasn't close enough to get beer on.
So that's what I mean. It's a different feeling of I'm part of the celebration and the excitement of this, and I don't care that I got beer on me. I can wash this off. I'm not in Mexico and they're fucking pouring tequila down my throat.
I definitely ran away from Sandman at a lot of indie shows.
Sure.
Get the fuck away from me, which is goddamn gross ass beer. Well, I think, I think a very valiant pick and a very reasonable description of why, and definitely undeniable. I like Austin better, and so it's easy for me to be like, yeah, no, you know what? You're right. He's the go. Fuck Ric Flair. But also,
either way, these are two guys that I think you can show wrestling to someone and show either one of them and go right, this is a great representation of what pro wrestling is.
Also, to your point, has the same thing Flair has, is the second you see him, you know exactly, you get the character, you know what it is. You get it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need the backstory. You feel something for sure. Well, there you have it. The greatest of all time. Who do you think wins? If you want, you can leave a hotline call at 747-666-5606. 747-666-5606. Leave a voicemail. Tell us who your greatest of all time is, and we'll put it on the show next week. or of course, join us live for the super exclusive Patreon-only live stream and tell us to our faces as we chat. By the way, Andrea Buehler, I wanted to just her last sentiment here is, I don't drink, but if he would have thrown me a beer, I would have probably drank some of it. You know what? Like, if he threw you a beer, you can't not. Maybe I would have done that thing where I would have been like, oh, I'm going to like fake drink. Like, I think there's been a lot of people who did fake drinks throughout the years that he did that with in ring, and
or
you can always
just
tell.
Sip it and he gets mad.
Yeah. Or
it's all that. It's so, you
fun.
Watch any of those fucking segments of his wild eyes and what's he going to do and how it just turns like the snap. He would do that snap and you just go, oh no, when he did do it, it was great. The turn to the crowd, a very Hogan-esque move of like, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? Austin's eyes could make everyone else do what he wanted to do, that he tosses you the beer and you fumble it and you drop it. And then, his face sinks and he looks at you like, what the hell did you do? And everyone's like, oh, you're fucking dead. He's going to kill you.
It'd be interesting. Maybe a listener wants to do this just because it's a fun, I love stats and we love stuff like this. Out of all the names that we talked about today, of all the names we threw into the hat for the greatest of all time, who worked with the most other greatest of all times? Because I feel like Stone Cold's on there. Flair is definitely on there. I think, unfortunately, someone like Cena's going to skip a few because of just chips in the night, the eras.
Yeah.
But I'd be curious to see who out of all the names we threw worked with the most of all the other people. That'd be interesting.
Yeah. I think it's, as you mentioned, I'm like, it is probably Flair.
It's probably Flair. Because also he crossed companies and never stopped. Never. Yeah. But all right. Well, there you have it. We didn't mention Triple H once.
There's a reason.
Current PWP champ Adrian Avita, it is time to defend your title here to see who the January 2026
who's the GOAT of January
champ is gonna be. Let's see. Without further ado, it is time. They're all in the jar rumbling. Look at them all rumbling around. Oh, so many headbutts and crotch shots and
fingers and butts.
Fingers and butts. Alrighty. I've pulled one out. And our new PWP champ for January 2026, Tim Bemis. Tim Bemis.
How about that?
Congrats on your victory. I don't know, Tim. I feel like it's been a long time.
His win right away?
No, I'm trying to think of the last time.
I thought you were gonna like run his credit card or something. Like, I don't know about this Tim Bemis.
This is Tim Bemis's first championship victory somehow.
Ever?
Well,
I know
Tim,
he's been
congrats.
Like, oh, there it is, not happening for me again. Like the curmudgeon-y, like, shucks. But I thought that was just for a while.
No, I mean, according to the sheet, and unless it's lying to me, which I don't think it is, Tim Bemis, PWP
how about
champ,
that, Tim?
January 2026. Congrats on your victory.
Things are coming up, Bemis.
Look forward to seeing what you have in store for us for watch along. That'll do it for the program.
Real quick shout out to Adrian Avina, and I'm going to read out our Patreon Palski names in a moment here.
Please do.
But Adrian Avina, if you're listening, I've tried reaching out to you over your contact information in Patreon, but I haven't heard from you yet, and I'd like to get you your watch along match. So if you're hearing this, contact us over on Discord, or you can message us through Patreon. That's you through your sign up and all that. You can message us back. So looking forward to hearing your watch along. So please give us a contact.
Yes, please do so. But yeah, looking forward to see what Tim has in store for us. And Scott, we have to thank our current Patreon Palskis before we get out of here.
So thank you all. You're all the greatest when it comes to listeners. Don't turn your back on this, Jake. We have a new Palski. Foley is God.
Well, we know who their greatest of all time is. God, yeah, that's clearly.
Right. Noel.
Welcome and thank you.
Thank you to Foley is God for joining us here, as well as Adrian Avina, Alex Pierce, Alice Rader, Andrea Buehler, Gilbert Short, Mass Lama, Michael Beltran, Suicide, Tim Bemis, the new PWP champ, Tim Redbeard, Tom Hader, and Tony Griggs.
Thanks to each and every one of you for continued support of the program. Should not, would not, could not do it without you. That'll do it. anything else you'd like to say to the people, Scott and Arver, about the greatest of all times is?
Hey, we've all got our faves. We've all got our greatest of all times. But you know what? It's really the Mean Street Posse. Because there's more than one, and they're truly the greatest of all of us.
All right, everybody. We hope you had fun hanging out. It's always a blast hanging out with you, the Pro Wrestling Palskis.
It's Dragon Wagon.